No problem. So, all right. So whether you have that up or not, I'm gonna, we'll look at it. We'll go through it together. So, and there are a few new people here, so I just want to do a really um, brief reminder and remind everyone there is a little worksheet in the chat. You can click that or cut and paste that into your browser for now or later. We're just working on a very simple sheet today, so we can do it in our journals. So just a quick reminder of where we are. So first, our first three basic concepts, the four hats concept, the hero's journey concept, and then sort of this modified journey concept of the creative hero's journey. And we've made our way around this the unknown, through the known into the unknown. We've talked about and literally observed the abyss being experienced by other human beings in the world right now, which is just, that's just what happens, isn't it? It's like synchronicity and terrible things you don't want to happen. But it's that proof that, like, life is this such unpredictable chaos and beauty at the same time. So today we are into our final sort of 6, 7, and 8 section. Okay. So we worked on our patterns of power. We noticed our winning strategy and how that works for us, but also keeps us back. We forged our key, which is the thing we are avoiding. We talked about the abyss. And, I really suggest doing this Jungian archetypal work with your own shadow and exploring that and your shadow selves and all of that. It's really enlightening. Then we talked about going into the wood and mustering the muses and all of the archetypal characters and parts of our own personalities that we can use as our team on in our new vision, and thinking of this new vision as a game, as this impossible game. Now that we know that you know, we are all going to leave this planet at some point, what are we going to do while we're here? And creating some fun around it as well. So the past couple days really brought up this idea of the elemental characteristics of the world, these big powers that are so elemental. And of course, fire is destroying a whole city right now. Water, it's so interesting. Two of my coaches this spring have been like their homes have been destroyed by the elements. So it's interesting because, of course, fire. And then this spring, this fall, actually water. One of my first coach, Christine Kane, lost two homes on the banks of the river she lives in Asheville, North Carolina. So she lost two homes. And my other financial coach, Amy Sangster, yesterday lost a multi-million dollar home in Malibu. So this idea of the elements, they're so strong and they rule our lives in so many ways as concepts and as a reality. So I wanted to kind of talk about first a little bit about like this idea of the emotions and elemental emotions. And starting from the top, we have the flight, fight, freeze, fawn, or friend. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And I think there are a couple of other ones. And if you remember them, please put them in the chat. I kind of added this at the last minute, so I wasn't able to sort of completely envision this slide. But the idea that, our emotions are very elemental, that we experience, and we talked about when we enter this abyss, when we enter our own our own demons and our own cave and all of that, we need to be willing to feel these emotions, right? Because the abyss is emotion. And the wisdom of the abyss is the willingness to feel any emotion. So let's look at a couple of them now. So the idea of the air emotions are flying away, wanting to just, to escape, wanting to be invisible, like the air, right? Wanting to fly away. And also, the idea of we can't breathe, you're suffocating. We're not breathing normally. We feel suffocated. That idea of, the air elemental emotions. The fire elemental emotions would be, anger, the idea of wanting to fight, wanting to burn it all down. This is the tower in the tarot, where, there's just conflagration and just complete chaos. The emotion of metal, I was really thinking about this with this man-made sort of constructed thing where, maybe you feel frozen or hardened or apathetic or cynical, to the world. The earth emotions are this still, again, the idea of paralysis or stuck in mud or, the earthquake that changes everything or retreating into that cave. Then wood, the emotions of wood, either people pleasing and bending to others, or feeling just dried out and cracking and, there's no moisture anymore in what you're doing. And then the water, the idea of being frozen or paralyzed or drowning, or having this feeling of just you can't get your head above water. Okay. So those are the negative elements of when you think of the elemental emotions. And I want to counter that with the idea of the positive options of these elemental emotions. In air, it would be this feeling of freedom, complete flying to new heights and breathing and seeing from above, like a hawk, like a bird. And that freedom and that beauty that emotion brings. In fire, it's excitement and bold action. Fire can also warm your soup, right? It can be this sort of steady power, steady heat that moves you to the next level. Metal would be focus, this determination to just be committed and keep sort of pounding away at your anvil. Earth would be the feeling of being grounded, or maybe even going internal into your cave and in doing that internal work and that willingness to feel the emotions. Wood would be this idea of growth, winding and vining and bending and, or also being strong, being adaptable to what happens next, but in a growth way, like a tree or a plant pushing up above the ground. And then water, the idea of flow, being ready, being calm, being, just able to ride the waves, being decisive when necessary, but also being able to just go around the rocks as we hit them, and that freedom. So these were just things in my mind this morning in my journal, and I thought I'd share them because when you get an idea, you get a concept in your work, in your art, or in whatever you're doing, I really sort of encourage you to explore it because you never know where it's going to go. And for me, this is where it went this morning. And this is going to be helpful to me to think about these elemental emotions as tools, as ways that I can tap into different parts of my psyche and find strength that I need in certain times. Okay, so there we go. So right now we are at oops, we are at the framing our game. And I want to think about, what is next for us. So we have that thing, that key that we were trying to avoid. Everybody was very well willing to share that. And a lot of that, comes from this pattern of seeing something something happening in our present, and then our brain assigning meaning to it to predict the future, to then work with that thought feeling combo poo poo platter of, past emotions. We're addicted to this interpretation that our mind has done so many times before. And we take that action from the past and act on that. And those are our results. But I want you to kind of sort of add another ball into this juggling, these three balls. Okay, so let's do this again. Something happens in your new game. Okay. You're going to try something out. You know it's impossible. You're going to make, like I said yesterday, for if someone didn't hear this, make a bold promise you know you can't keep. Okay, you're going to try something new. And your number two is your brain assigns meaning and predicts the future. And we take action from the past. But in this case, we want to sort of acknowledge the past, but we want to think from the future. So the idea of, it's Greek, that's a new word, Greek, break the brain's addiction to interpretation and the past. So we're going to ask ourselves questions. In your game, what just happened? What did I fail at? What did I misunderstand that I had to do more work on? Or what did I misinterpret? How did I trap myself, in my case, that I didn't want to? Or how did I lose control? Or how did I, what happened? What was the mistake? What was the failure there? Understand it and think about then what's missing. What can I do to improve this? What's missing? And then what's next? And so you can use your key. In my case, it's trapping myself because I don't want to feel trapped. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So when I trap myself, I get to ask what happened, what's missing, and what's next. And I can use that key to create a new trap. But that trap is going to be fun for me because it's part of my game. Okay? So, trap yourself. Fail way more. Think of 3 new ways you can fail by trying something harder that you've never done before. Give up control. Know that they will hate you. Know that they will ignore you. Okay? Ignore them. So this is where that cave you fear holds the treasure you seek, right? And this takes practice. So the last 2 things, the sort of part of turning the key is that what I call the worthy grind. Okay, this is the hard part. This is work. This is the thing we all want to avoid. This is the thing our brains don't want to do. The worthy grind and the realigned mind is just the idea of like reminding yourself you're going to die. Reminding yourself this is a game. Reminding yourself every day that this is what I have chosen powerfully in my life to try to do. And it's hard, but it's also easy if I choose that free bowl, right? Okay, and then do it again. Okay, so if you set out a game for yourself and you say, 1 week I'm going to, paint for 4 hours like Pam did yesterday, and she makes 2 hours today and 3 hours tomorrow and no hours the next day and 4 hours the next day. She set a constraint around it. And then at the end of the week, she looks back and she said, what happens? What's missing? What can I do better? Oh, I can turn my phone off. I can leave my phone in the kitchen. I can tell my friends I'm painting for 4 hours and nobody bug me. I can turn off my computer completely down to the ground, right? I can create an atmosphere in my studio where everything's neat and ready for me to go. I can have 3 easels up like Susan has, where she has, maybe that's part of her game. She has 3 easels, and one is going to be black and white, one is going to be red, and one is going to be all colors, right? So these constraints really help us recreate rules and create rules for to our game that at the end we can really say, did that work or not? What's missing? What can I do? Okay. So maybe it's marketing and business and all that stuff that scares us. Maybe you say, I'm going to post every day for a week and you only do it 4 times. Don't get down on yourself. Be willing to feel any emotion. Feel the failure emotion and just say, okay, now what's my next game? What will make it easier for me to do this? But don't change the goal, right? Try it again. Maybe I make all the posts ready ahead of time. Or maybe I post one image and one hashtag, that's it. You know, all of these baby steps that you can sort of fix as you go. Okay, so let's look at your game, at your rules, and what we have. So I want to just open up the conversation today and hear you and hear what your thoughts are around this whole thing. If you've had some fun rules that you decided to make up for yourself. Okay, so everyone can unmute if they wish, and just raise your hand if you want to share, if you want to participate. And it's okay if you weren't with us the whole time. You can go back, but you can ask questions. Don't worry if you think that that's something that you should already know. No worries. We'll go over it. So,
Hi, Shannon. Susan here.
Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a little outside the box, of course, in answering the questions because my
That's
head's
right.
in my head. And so, a couple notes I just took are decreasing the bandwidth and really perhaps contemplate, time and space that our minds have galaxies and our hand and pen have one singular focus. And so to reduce the physical space that we're going to work in, like I should work very small. So then the next ideas can have room in physical space. And just the idea of showing up to contemplate time and space and try to calibrate the broad bandwidth to the focus.
I love that, that constraint and putting that around your work. And you know, the minute our brain hears constraint or rules, right, it sort of goes, freaks out, shuts down. But what you can tell it, and what I'm telling your brains right now,
Uh-huh.
is that this is just for a while, right? We can do anything for a week or a day or, you know, so just have fun with it in that I'm just going to play this for a week. I can do it. I love to do little check boxes and I make my little stickies and literally make a little check box, 7 check boxes. And I, say, okay, I did that thing today. And I know that everybody does that and all of that, but really literally knowing that there's an end to it.
Yeah, so there's an aperture reduction.
Yes, I love that. That's so great. Yep. And it does calm your brain down. It
Yeah,
calms your mind to
yeah.
just have that simplicity.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for that. Um,
Hmm.
do you have I know that you were talking as your game as being simplifying, like, we talked about complexify to simplify. Did you have any more insights into, so your game is going to be, do you have a title for your game? That's what we're going to try to work on today, right? So you have like 3 or 4 words for your game title, okay? And that helps us just to go back and know what we're doing, right? Mine is, like I said, the get legit and commit game. Okay. And that's for myself because I'm doing this sort of for my business and my art together. But you don't have to, right? It can be anything. So maybe what I'll do is actually set a timer. And so people can spend a little time with this sheet, okay, before we dive into talking more. But Susan, you got to start it off really well. So I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes and just see if you can come up with a fun title and, a couple of rules. I left space on there. The dream seed on the sheet is just sort of describing, your game. What is it? What are you trying to do here? What constraints are you going to put around it? The key, what are you avoiding? And that was mine was being trapped, but it could be losing control. It could be, feeling unworthy. It could be failure, feeling failure, right? Notice it's all emotions. My key is feeling trapped. I'm not trapped, right? Only up here in my mind. So it's just an emotion. Feeling unworthy. You're not unworthy. You're 100% worthy because you're a human being that exists in the world. You're worthy to live your life, right? So it's just a feeling of unworthy. Failure, who knows what that is? It's just a feeling of failure. But if you're willing to feel the feeling, look at it, then you can move past it and feel that again and again, and it will it heals over time, and you transform it into something new and a tool you can use. Okay, so what am I avoiding? And then the strategy. This is kind of fun. This was from mine, and I thought I'd share it. WWITB, which is what would I have to think, feel, and believe in order to do this? Okay, so that's how I kind of wrote them in those three little circles. But you can use this sheet however you want. I'm going to set, and then below that, that's like your rules. Okay, so if you have rule number 1, 2, 3, I suggest keeping them super simple. I had like 10. Okay, but I'm probably going to, if I do it again, I'll make fewer rules, right? It's your game. You get to do what you want. Okay, so I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes. Let's just see how far we can get. Okay. Okay, we're ready to go. Jen, you have your hand up, or would you like to share first? I would like everyone who wants to share, so I'm going to kind of move us through this. But please get us started off again.
Okay. Um, my title of this is The Relaunch. My traps are lack of confidence and too busy with other agendas. Um, what am I avoiding? Well, part of what I'm avoiding is disappointment of others and strategies. Um, keep returning to reminding myself of uh, reflective contemplations. So I've been since yesterday, I've been spending a lot of time. I've been really kind of lost in this problem for um, this relaunch for a while. I haven't done any work for 20 years, really. And I've been selling my work. I've been doing other things, and so I spent a lot of time last night going through the the where I left my work off 20 years ago, and
Okay, I just want to point out this, just a point here that, see, this is what we talked about with the balls. Our brain immediately relates everything to the past. I know your work is in the past because you made it in the past, but this is where your brain wants to go, right? To the past and then predict the future from the past. So I just want us to be aware that this is happening. So go on.
so what I did was I went back to the last major exhibit that I did in Salt Lake, actually, and it it had a lot of it was a big exhibit, and I did a lot of writing around. It was at a library, one of the libraries, so I was using educational things to stimulate and encourage people to um, understand art and do their own art. So, um, one of the writings that I did about it, part of one of the writings I did that were part of the exhibit, uh, paint from the unconscious, painting in the alpha state, paint outside of time, paint without worrying about selling, paint what you have to paint, depth, color, journey, go as deep as you can, paint from inside of your heart, paint in the flow of consciousness.
That's beautiful. So are you going to take this advice now? They sound like good rules for your game.
Yeah, yeah, I think I will take this advice and start moving.
Yeah, I love that.
And relaunch.
Right.
Got the studio now.
Oh,
There's obstacles, but I think I can navigate around those obstacles.
oh, that's so good. That is so great. I'm not, of course, I'm not saying the past isn't wonderful and great, right? There's so much in it. That's our wisdom. But it's just interesting to notice that, that's what we do. We go to the past and then we go to the future. So we want to balance that out. So you're thinking these wonderful things that happened in the past and this advice from your past self. Also think about, what about in the future? What is something totally new that you maybe one of your rules is something, from the future that you totally haven't even thought of yet, or,
Mhm.
right? So just keep that in mind too. Um, okay, who would like to go next? I'm going to quit sharing my screen because I think we have this idea of this sheet.
I can go next.
Okay, Laura,
I came
wonderful.
up with this is I don't know if I did it right, but
There's no
when you
right. There is no
They
right.
make a bold promise that you're going to break. So I picked something that was so outrageous that I was pretty much destined to break it. But
Yay. That's what we want to see.
right. So my promise was when I'm 60 years old, so that would be 20, yes, 2033, that I would be the artistic director at the Royal Shakespeare Company. So
Wow.
I'm saying, how absolutely outrageous could you come up? But the thing that was interesting about that was that it brought up some really cool questions. And so some of the things.
Exactly. I just want to point this out that when, we say impossible, we mean this is something that's impossible at this moment with who we are.
Right.
It may or may not be impossible in who we become in the future. But it may not be. But in the meantime, this is what happens. All these things come up and makes you think about new, possibilities. So please go on. I just do want to point out, though, that everyone that Laura has taken classes at the Royal Shakespeare Company in London, and she's a director and she's an actor. So it's not that far out of the possibility of the realm of possibility. It's not like me doing that. Okay. Just saying. Okay, go on.
So these are some things like what I have to think, feel, and believe in order to do this. And one was that I am capable of creating at that level. That was the big one for me, like to honestly think like, what is the level of creativity of somebody who is working on that plane? And some other things that I can entrust and delegate and co-create with others, because obviously you're directing, the whole artistic life of the season. So you are able to, create and employ people who are specialists and not feel like I have to do all of the granular everything alone. And that I can have, but also to believe that I have a unique master vision to bring to an institution like that. And that I also have diplomatic and problem-solving abilities, which would be a key for somebody in that kind of role. But it was really interesting because, especially thinking of, what do you have? Like, it's more of a state of being, and like, what do I have, like, to create at that level, lifted up all my thinking about even the play that I'm proposing for the next season at Stage Company. So I was really, even in the immediacy of now, even doing that exercise was helpful because it was, bringing some things into focus.
That's so beautiful. And what it does is just when you do your, show at Stage Company here in this small town, right? Small city, it will be elevated itself, right, to the next level. And Stratford-on-Avon was just a little place, right?
That's true.
All of these, we hear about these little pockets of cool theater or art, St. Ives in Cornwall, Devon. I get mixed up wherever it is.
It's
Okay. Yeah. And right now I miss it. There's this amazing show that's coming up of Eiffel Culkin, and she sort of put this place on the map, right? Because she was there and she took it seriously. And now, the Tate Modern has a museum on the shore there. So it's like, just because a place is small, out of the way, doesn't mean that we can't elevate our own life and feel like we're the director of the Royal Shakespeare Company, right? With all of the responsibility and issues that go with that. It doesn't matter because, again, it's all in the emotions. If you're willing to feel that, you're taking that to the next level. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Laura. Okay, who's next?
I can talk about this.
Okay, Kevin.
Yeah. So my game, I just wrote reading and writing and thinking. I could have a more fun name for that, but I just thought I'd keep it simple because it's what I keep coming back to. And who wouldn't, I have more time now. Who would want to be able to read and write and think, with the extra time that they have, their freedom? I think that names the game, the way I picture the way I want to use my days. And so thinking about making up my own rules, it made me think about clocking in and clocking out, Shannon, that we've been doing. And so I think that's a really good example of, I think, what you're leading us to. They're arbitrary. It's an arbitrary rule. I definitely just made it up. It's kind of funny and fun. So I clock in, clock out. Even though I'm not going to work anymore, but I pretend I am, and I clock in and I track my hours. And then once in a while, when I feel like I'm not really getting my work done, I feel bad that I'm letting the company down, but I'm the company. And it's all very amusing to me, but also kind of works.
It's so
And
true.
This tied into, what the kind of like prompts that I'd followed that you given me yesterday about what am I avoiding, and it comes out to taking individual decisive action is how I put it yesterday, and looking at that again today, I think that's about right. And because I'm a good listener and I'm a nice person, everyone says I'm a nice guy, but that's passive and easy, so what am I avoiding? It was kind of a difficult question, a very little too close to difficult and useful psychotherapy there. It hurt a little bit, which is good. So it means I don't have to do the work. I get to just listen to somebody else complain about their difficulty doing their work. If I want to, read and write and think, I need to be comfortable with what am I avoiding? The emotions are something we're probably all familiar with: feeling incapable, untalented, not feeling smart. I'm not all that. Being a failure, not doing it well. Those are uncomfortable. They bring up uncomfortable emotions. And I've learned a lot from you, Shannon, about how they're just emotions, thoughts, emotions. These emotions that I'm feeling about this, about my work, that are completely arbitrary. I'm putting them on myself. And I like that how I kind of tied together when I further thought, when you ask these questions, what do I need to think, feel, and believe to get past this, or to make happen what, to play the game? I need to think that today is mine. I wake up in the morning, just as soon as I wrote that down, it felt good. Like, today's mine. That's a nice thing. And what I need to feel is that it's fun. Like, doing the work is fun and interesting in itself. I don't have to be good at it. I don't have to finish. Better if I do. It's better if I'm good at it. But it's fun. It's interesting. There's a reason I do it. It's rewarding in itself. And then what to believe is kind of on that theme. To believe it's worth it. I need to believe that it's worth it, that it's worth doing. And I know it is. I truly do believe that it is. Even if it's just enriching my own self-understanding, which is kind of narcissistic, but even on that level, when I'm writing an essay, I'm learning about how I understand the world. That's just a start, but hopefully I am genuinely understanding the world better and maybe going to be more useful in the world. And of course, the next hope, even if a vain one, would be that the way I express my thoughts about the world in whatever form is interesting to other people.
Okay.
So I'm glad that, yes, go ahead.
That's great. No, I think those are so great. And I'm listening to some of the words that are coming out of your mouth. I love your rules. I want to show everybody, this is our time clock. We text each other this time clock back and forth. And, sometimes we say ka-ching and say clocking in, clocking out, it's just fun. And this was Kevin's idea, but we do this back and forth now. And it just helps to check in with a friend or, whatever. But a couple of things I wanted to bring up, just Kevin, that I noticed is that you said twice, maybe this is vain and maybe this is narcissistic. And I want you to notice that is your emotion you're avoiding. You mentioned before is your emotion you're avoiding is calling attention to yourself, right? So it even comes out in your language. Okay, you don't want to be egotistical. You don't want to be, get ahead of yourself. You don't want to get all uppity. right? And I don't know, it comes back from your past, your religion, all these things, right? This is the work we have to do. But just notice that and notice how our avoidance strategy comes out in our language. And what if you said, I am going to be narcissistic today? What would that look like? Like Laura's, right? I'm going to run the Royal Shakespeare Company today. What would that look like? And it probably wouldn't be as scary as you think. And this is what I mean by feeling that emotion. What would it feel like to feel the emotion of narcissism or egotism, or vanity?
That's great. My sister says, excuse my sister, my teacher says, I have to be narcissistic today. I'm going to write that down.
Okay, that's right. Try it
I should
out.
have known you'd call me on that.
Try it
I
out.
want to say quickly something humorous. I saw so today you were trying to say great in Greek, and you said Greek. And yesterday, when it was like, what's our alternative to living in the 50-50 world? It's, you talked about what's the alternative? Are we going to do it or not? If we are going to do it, if we're not going to engage with the world, what is it? You mentioned suicide, then you said depression, and then in a similar sort of portmanteau, I think you were trying to say lingering and languor, anger,
Languishing?
and you said langering.
Lingering.
You actually said langering yesterday, which I don't think anyone has ever said before, but my goal is to avoid langering.
Okay.
So
all right.
I have a word for it now. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. All right, who would like to go? Who would like to talk? Kelly's put the name of her game. She's saying, I'm just going to read this. My game, boundaries are us. I love it. Your want isn't my emergency. Art and poetry hugs me back and connects me to something larger. Emotion is fear that I don't know where I'm going. Solution or next move. It doesn't matter that I don't have a grand plan. Just keep taking action on my own work in life and trust my heart. That's so great. Boundaries are us, Kelly. That's just so great. And it helps. Do you want to say any other words around it, or is that it?
Oh, no, the only thing is that I love hearing everyone's, big, like the thing that the dream you're gonna like break. But I feel like I'm at such a strange place in my life where I've achieved what I wanted to in poetry as far as my own writing. And I just don't really know what my life looks like. And I think the Capricorn in me wants to have like a grand plan. I want to know, like, where am I going? I need to be. And now I'm just kind of aiming myself to the direction of like love and light and just the good feeling, but I don't necessarily have a major thing I'm working towards, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so you're protecting the asset right now, which is one of my rules, right? Taking care of you and having boundaries so you can go into that cave and figure out what's next.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I've done a really good job of doing stuff for a lot of different people and just kind of maybe losing my way. And I think that with many, the pandemic made a lot of us just kind of lose our way.
Yeah. And reevaluate, in a good way too. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful, Kelly. Thank you so much. I love Boundaries R Us. That's so good. Anyone else like to share your game, the name of your game, your rules? Any fun names?
I have a fun thought about mine. So after Wednesday this week, after our call in the morning session, we were talking about Dante, and very interestingly enough, that afternoon I picked up a bunch of lumber for new chairs from a company called Eden Saw. So
yes.
that was interesting. But on top of that, that morning I'm finishing a chair that I make them one-off. They're very artistically made, and it's purple of all things. And then I go and pick up, new lumber, and it's big, it's heavy, it's clunky. I put it up on the workbench, and it's next to this chair that I'm finishing, and it's this massive 10-foot long, big, thick board. And it's I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, that's exactly the amount of wood that goes into one of these chairs. So I'm thinking about all, like these silly little video games where you input something into a factory and output something else. And I just had this vision of these big boards coming in and these purple chairs going out. And I was thinking about turning it into a game of some sort where it's not manufacturing or mass production, but it's the board comes in and then it's my creative space. And I get to do what I want to do with that board. I get to create a chair that's big and luxurious or something that's small for a dining table. And then I get to put all of my uh, energy and creativity and thoughts into this. When it comes in from the outside, it's on the bench, and before it leaves, I make sure it's functional and utility, but also representative of my creative what's exciting me creatively at that time. So you can all help me come up with the name of the game, but I was thinking like, a silly video game where, in comes something, but instead of just and out goes the widget, it's this opportunity when I have it that I get to be creative with that material. And it comes in one way, it leaves another, and when it leaves, it's no longer this big, ugly, splintery board. It's this beautiful, soft, smooth, painted or not painted, but beautiful in another way, finished piece. So there is a transformation with the physical piece that happens in this creative space. So maybe that's a little bit outside the rails of what we're talking about.
No,
but that's
not at all.
kind of the
Not
theme
at
I've
all.
been like,
Okay.
okay, I
Laura
don't need to
has a-
worry about a problem or something breaking. It's just part of the game. Let's grab it.
That's right. Laura, go ahead.
Matt, when you were describing it, it's almost like you're assisting that board and that piece of timber on its own journey to get
Yes.
its own highest beauty. So
Yeah.
I don't know what, the name of that would be, but it's almost like you're an important part of its journey, and a part of its life is that time when it meets you, and then you bring out its beauty and all of its potential, and then you send it through into the universe, which is
I love that.
Cool.
It's almost
I like
like
hearing that. Thank you.
I think of like you're a wizard, like, the wood wizard or the wood wizard game, or, because it's not only the wood that you bring in, but
No.
the fact that it's the trees, and then
Crafty
you
to
do your
crafty.
magic.
That's
What?
great. I just saw that in the comments. Kelly suggested crappy to crafty chair
Chair
edition.
edition.
I like that.
Craft to craft opportunity. I love it. I love it. Cool. Yeah, we all have our options. The wood wizard, the chair wizard, the chair magician, I mean, it's fun to like make a list. This is a great way to distract yourself. Like make a list of words and just keep it there, and then go, okay, I'm going to create a name out of this, and just practice, like just toss some words down and something will come to you when you're working on your chair.
Well, the other thing I like about this whole game concept is that I often take things too seriously when I'm like struggling, when I'm trying to solve a problem. I'm very focused and I'm not like laughing about it. I'm serious about it. I'm trying to fix it.
You're in metal mode.
Yes, and
right?
somehow the thought of a purple chair and silly game music just makes it less serious, and maybe less serious at this part of my creativity phase is really good for me. So maybe that's one of my rules is even when you're doing a serious project, take a step back from the seriousness and just remember it's fun. And I think that goes back to what my key is, which is fear of failure. And if I'm having fun, I'm less concerned about failure, number one, but I'm also not allowing myself to spiral down that what if of the future and just enjoy the present more, because that's what we do as artists, is in the moment. And that's when we're actually creating. We're thinking about it a lot, but anyways,
that's so good.
That's what I have for today that I've been thinking about.
I love it. I love it. And I love spreadsheets. And that's kind of one thing that I bring to this whole thing, is like my ability to think in systems and think in, organize things and all of that. So I created for myself, and I think it's even in Metaphor Mindset Studio at some point, it's called the serious fun scale. And on this side, it's like from from fun to serious, and then like not important to important. And you sort of like go on the XY axis and find, if is it serious and important? Is it not serious and not important? Right. And so you kind of try to find your sweet spot. And so it helps me to sort of run things through my serious fun scale to see how I feel about it, or how I want to feel about it, or how I should maybe have more fun with it, that kind of a thing. It's just one of those fun things. Love it. Love it. Okay. Who's next? Charlotte, fun avoids failure. That's so true, right? How can you fail at playing? It's just play. And before we leave, I want to share a quick exercise that I saw today about this very topic. So if anyone wants to go next, we do have a few minutes. Okay, what I'm going to do is then, Anne, right under the wire. Good, Anne.
Just quickly, I wanted to, I really like the idea of thinking from the future.
Mhm.
And, so one of the bigger things I'd like to do is actually illustrate a book of my own poetry, which is something way out of my comfort zone. I've been writing one poem every day for the last year and a half or so.
Wow.
So, but also to illustrate it in the way that would really complement it. And that's something that's way outside my comfort zone, as I say. So I like to think about from the future, what is that book going to look like? Hold it in my hands. Sorry, my dog is moaning in the background here.
Your dog approves.
Like seeing it in my hands, how big it would be, the weight of it, the way what font it is in, what the illustrations look like, and the feeling it gives me. So I really like that idea of thinking from the future, and seeing something that will be in the future that isn't actually there yet. So that's the big thing. And then in terms of just the ongoing art stuff, I'm going to, kind of really drill down into my own, make a definite plan of creating one monoprint, a large monoprint, a 20 by 24 monoprint every day for a week.
Wow.
But the criteria for it is satisfy myself, like really, really satisfy myself, and not think about whether there's any whether anything can come back to me from the world out there. This is all about me, and reconnecting to that thing in myself that makes me want to create art. That joy, that great feeling. So it's reconnecting with that again.
Oh, I love
that. That's kind of small thing. So it's really about satisfying me and reconnecting back again.
I just love that. And I also just want to point out you mentioned your avoidance technique is the unworthiness, right? And
yeah,
it came out in your language just now, just tiny bit. It said it's just a small thing, right? You said it's a small thing. You said it's a small thing, like the rule or the making a monoprint every day. You just said it's a small thing.
Okay.
Okay. And
I don't. That's so weird that it comes out in your language, but I don't actually feel that way.
Right.
I feel it's not a small thing. I think
it's a small thing.
Well, it's not a small thing in my new way of thinking. Mm-hmm. It might be in my old way, which is, one monoprint a day. That's ridiculous. That's not enough. All that bullshit. But it's enough for me to do that and satisfy myself. That's the criteria.
I love it. I love it. And it's it's an amazing thing. And if our brain wants to, put the constraint and say, I'm going to do this small thing every day.
Yeah.
It's okay, because then your brain can get around it, right? It can handle it. And that's fine. So sometimes it's just interesting to observe our language and observe our thoughts and use them as our tools, right? I love that. Okay. So what you brought up is really so important, and that I am going to kind of incorporate it into this exercise that I was just talking about. So, what I'd like to do, and this is just sort of a minute before we leave, I'm going to set my timer for a minute. And I'm going to ask you to turn your paper over or start a new piece of paper and just have a pen or pencil and put your, just sort of sit with your pen or pencil and close your eyes. And what you're going to do is scribble on this piece of paper. Okay, I'm not calling this art. I'm not even calling it doodles. I want you to scribble and think of it as scribbling. Okay, so I don't want you to pick up your pen at all. I want your pen to keep moving for like a minute. And sort of, you can make it either landscape or up and down, but I kind of like landscape because you can go left to right. You can go more from like make kind of a scene. So on the left-hand side, I want you to sort of think, in the lower half, I want you to think of your abyss. Okay. Your abyss is your emotion, what you're trying to avoid. And I want you to put your pen down and I want you to scribble what it feels like, either in one place or it can be all over the page. But what we're going to do is try to kind of go up from the bottom. Okay. So more on the bottom and the left side. And I'm going to set a timer and I want you to scribble that emotion and that feeling of what your avoidance, what your avoidance strategy feels like.
I have a question, Shannon.
Yes. Yeah.
How many compartments do we need on our paper for this project? 1 or 3 or
This is
one?
just one big compartment. It's all going to go on top of each other. Okay.
Okay.
And so I'm sort of thinking of scribbling it down in the bottom, but you can do whatever you want, right? We're going to kind of use it as a scene. So whatever ends up happening. Okay.
And this is our what again? What's the heading?
This is your key. This is your avoidance. What are you trying to avoid? That emotion you're trying to avoid, your abyss. Okay. It could be more than one emotion, but what we've kind of identified, right? And just scribble it. Okay. So I'm going to leave a minute. I want you to think about it, how it makes you feel. Close your eyes and just scribble it. 1 minute. Okay. Okay. So if you want, you can hold up your scribble. This was mine. Oh my gosh. Wow. Cool. Ah, cool. So this is feeling trapped. I love it. So Pam, what's yours? What was your word?
Well, mine's the trust in myself
Okay, cool.
primarily.
Cool,
But
cool.
yeah, so there's like point A, point B. Like I feel like I'm going, like I have dots. I felt like I was putting dots in there in circles
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's safe, sometimes it's flowing, and but then there is the muddy muck down here
Okay, okay, good. And
and
I loved
scattered.
yours. What is Anne's? And hold that up again. Oh, Cass. Oh, yeah. Wow. That's intense. That's good.
Hey,
Kelly, I
wow,
love
I drew the
yours.
Parthenon. That's a joke.
Elizabeth, beautiful. Wow. These are interesting. Beautiful. Laura, let me see yours. Wow, just gorgeous. Wow, all over. There's a lot going on here. You know, I would,
A lot of words. The word that came up though a couple of times as I was thinking about what it didn't feel like to be in the abyss was attuned, and that's a word I don't use a whole lot, and it came through twice, so I lifted it out and wrote it up here. So
interesting. Okay, next
more.
part. I'm going to give you one more minute, and I want you to then scribble the vision for your impossible game. Okay. Anne mentioned sitting and seeing it and then looking at it. Now, of course, your scribble is going to be some abstract version of what your vision in your head is, but it's just helpful to get it out of your hand. Okay. So I'm going to set a timer, and this will be 1 minute again. And just sit with your vision for your impossible game. And what does it feel like? And what comes up? 1 minute. Okay. All right. Want to hold those up? Anybody have something? Let's see, Matt. Hold it up closer a little bit. Oh, cool.
You see this, Shannon?
Yes. Yes, I can. Oh, hold it back a little bit, Susan. Just slightly. No, actually, I can't. Closer, closer. Oh, yeah. There's a lot going on there, Susan. I love it. Okay, good. And if you hold yours up close, I can see it. All right. Wow. Amazing. They're like trees, they're like leaves, like Kelly's is like all of these circles and hearts. Elizabeth, hold yours up closer. I'd love to see that closer. Wow. It's like
These are books on fire.
awesome. Jen, can I see yours? Circles. Yeah. Oh, I see. I get you. Hold it near your face because then I can back close to your face. I can see it that way. There we go. It's the blurry thing. It's okay. I see circles. Anyway, well, wonderful. So we are ending now. And, this is just a fun exercise to sort of like help to loosen up your mind in thinking about this. But for me, this exercise was about drawing your emotions, and then Anne brought up the whole sort of like have the vision of what you want to do in your mind. That was like very different how my mind dealt with it. It was flowing, it was more moving around slowly, right? It was more calm. It was very interesting. Anyway, I hope that everyone got something from this training. And I want you to notice that on that page with the worksheet, I offer a consultation. So if anyone wants to sort of like have a free hour to just talk through this project, even if you're already my client, we can talk about that. But if you would like to become my client, I'm offering a little extra discount for anybody that's gone through this class of $200 off. Okay, so now I know that might not be in your world, what you want to do or anything, but I want to put that out there. And if anyone has any questions about what we've done, you will get the replay. That will come in an email early next week. I have to get it all together. And I just want to thank you for being here because this has been a big dream for me. It's been hard for me. It's been me going into the abyss. It's been really growing and revealing and being vulnerable for myself. And I hope that this has been beneficial for you. So if you have any thoughts in the chat, I'd love to sort of hear that. The PDF, you said, is there a PDF? Yes, there's a PDF. I'm going to put that link in the chat again. That's the word. You can cut and paste that worksheet, but you're going to get the replay of it as well. So, any other thoughts or questions? Thank you, Pam. I learned from everybody too. That was really cool to hear everyone talk today. And, this is how it works, like being in community and being able to really express ourselves and not oversimplify, right? And just try to go deeper into some of these things for ourselves and for others, I think is very important as artists. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great wintry weekend. And just my gratitude for you all being here. Thank you. I'm going to stay on. And if anyone wants to unmute and just chat and just have any questions or anything, please feel free.
I too appreciated the piece where you felt like, I'm not quite ready to do this, but I'm doing it. And that was a great, modeling of pulling some courage out.
Right. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for acknowledging that. Yep, it is just like that. That's how this works, apparently. So, yeah, and everyone, thank you for being, your vulnerable and true selves as well with this process. So, all right. Talk to you later. Bye, Matt. I'll see you later. Bye, Anne. Bye, Pam. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Jen. Bye. Kevin, I love that you brought up the clock, the time clock.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I was gonna tell people that you were sick as a dog just before doing this, but I decided that I shouldn't. Maybe I
That's
shouldn't bring
okay.
that up. But and I was thinking the other day while you were doing this, how we're all talking about how hard it is and vulnerable it is to be creative, and it came home to me suddenly that how brave it is for you to do this. You're putting yourself out there. You're trusting that you have something to give, and that people appreciate. And it's like, that just takes courage. I mean, it's obvious and we've talked about it, but it really came home to me clearly.
I appreciate you, saying that. That's really lovely. So I will see you Sunday. And I am better. So
yeah.
And I can't go anywhere. It's now the snow is really coming down here. So hopefully some of it'll melt by Monday because I got to be able to get into my car and drive to school on Monday. So.
Oh yeah. Do you have food?
I do. I luckily shopped just before this big storm.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Do you kind of like the snow? Is it okay?
I kind of like snow until January 1st.
Yeah.
And then I would like to be able to move around easier, but my house is not burned down, so I'm blissfully happy. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful. It's terrible what is happening out there.
It really is. I was looking at some pictures and video. It's just, it made it more real. Just house after house after house after house, hundreds, thousands.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
It'll be decades, before it'll be sort of the same in any way again. And what are all those people going to do? They'll move, they'll buy Janine. They'll be having to rebuild. Some of them will move to Seattle, right? I mean, you can see that a lot of people are at, it's that like forcing the new journey on you, right? unwilling.
Yeah.
And some people may change their lives completely. Who knows? It'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
and I was just thinking about, because I forget the name of your coach who lost her house, but
Amy.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it was a beautiful house, and it was important to her, and all her stuff is there. It's like we love the places that we live, it
Hmm.
becomes part of ourselves. And then she probably couldn't, even just the house, but there's things in it and that
Hmm.
she couldn't have gotten out of there, probably didn't
Hmm.
have time.
Yeah.
Um,
They probably took
and
their computers. I mean, now everything's in the cloud, so that's good. All our pictures are in the cloud, which is great, you know. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it's
but
heartbreaking.
your furniture, your china, your bed, I
Hmm.
don't know.
And all
Yeah,
the like pictures, and the
right.
ancestors things and the heirlooms and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yep. You just
And you
yeah,
just,
they're just things. Yeah. Sad.
yeah, sometimes I've thought in the past that would be kind of a relief that I would,
Hmm.
but that's because I don't have a lot of stuff. And so I just have felt sometimes that it would be very freeing to um, lose my house.
You have to start over. Yeah. No, I thought
Yeah,
about
and
that too. It makes us all think about that. Like, yeah, what if my house burned down right now? It could. I'm in a totally different state.
yeah,
As long as nobody was hurt, that would be the main thing for me. I do have insurance, but still, that I wouldn't want anybody to be hurt in my home.
yeah. But I was just thinking of how different it would be for people who have made more of a place for themselves as part of themselves and
Hmm.
feel,
Hmm.
so tied to it emotionally
Right.
and every other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, all that.
Crazy.
I had this package coming, was supposed to come yesterday, and I've been kind of tracking it, and it said it's been stuck in Europe because of weather. And I finally realized it was coming in through LA, of course.
Hmm.
So the flights are shut down, and um,
Wow. Yeah. And you said
you
that
know,
I
at
was
least,
going to get something on the second, and I haven't received it. And I think it's the weather right now here too.
oh yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, good to talk to you. Good to
Oh,
see you.
that's
Thanks for
right.
coming.
Yeah, that's right. Your thing for me. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's really delayed. Boy, it's really late. What time?
Well, school's been
What's the
closed. The
10th?
mailroom's closed till Monday.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
probably
Well,
just
that's
sitting in.
okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah. All
it's
right.
a trifle.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
It's nothing. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Shannon.
much.
You're
And good to
doing
see
great work.
you. Thank you.
Now
I
I'm
will see you
clocking
Monday.
in, so ka-ching.
Right? Ka-ching. Okay.
All right.
I'm on my
Bye.
lunch hour.
Oh, okay. All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.